The pessimist complains about the wind. The optimist expects it to change. But the leader adjusts the sails. These are the words of noted American author John Maxwell. Indeed, a leader is someone who shows people their potential even when they cannot see it. And today we have with us one such leader who leads brilliantly. The words used to describe him by his colleagues are, he is passionate, brings in a lot of positivity, energy, and commitment. I'm talking about Mr. Vikram Verma, Senior Vice President Technology at Credavenue. And today, in yet another episode of the Economic Times Cutting Chai Stories, a chit-chat series brought to you by ETH, I, Deipti Dewan, your host, shall engage in a candid conversation with him as he takes us through his personal and professional journey. What are the things that inspire and drive him? What are his hobbies and interests? And how does he keep up that passion and positivity? So welcome, Vikram, and thank you for coming on board.
Hey, thanks a lot, Deepti. Thanks a lot for the kind words and very nice introduction. The pleasure is definitely mine. Happy to share whatever my journey and thoughts with you.
Well, absolutely. So let's bring it on. Vikram, nearly 2 decades of experience in the technology space and having been in leadership roles at Yahoo, at Oracle, Goodera, please tell us, were you always driven towards technology or did you have something else in mind as your career path?
I think when I was growing up, I was I think those days there were luckily not too many distractions, and growing up in middle class families, parents always advise you to kind of focus on studies. Luckily was good at studies, was decent at studies. And when I grew up, I chose science like most of people who aspire to do well. And then went ahead and was lucky to get into IIT. Once I got into IIT, I chose computer science. So I think from there onwards, the path was very clear that it will be in the technology world. So I think even though I have done a bunch of management courses and so on, they were always to aid my career in technology rather than taking me away from that. So I think that way, I think I was always very focused on being in the technology tech sector.
Wow, amazing. So let's rewind a little bit. Let's talk about your foundation years. Where did you grow up? What was your school like? What were your college days like? And any early lessons that you have learned, when you're growing up years that have stayed with you and that have helped you become the person that you have become today?
I think definitely there are a lot of things that I've learned, and I think just like for everyone, I think their earlier experiences mold you as a person. I grew up in a small town in Haryana called Faridabad. Studied in a government school, part of the Kendriya Vidyalaya group. Have a lot of good friends from those days as well. Some of very close friends and the relationships there. And also because of courtesy, things like WhatsApp. Nowadays, it's great to be in touch with and being able to maintain touch with a bunch of them. Um my father was in a government job, and my mother was a homemaker. So also grew up as a single child. So kind of, I would say, learned independence and self-reliance a bit early on, because there was not too much to depend upon outside in the outside world. So that, I think, that was good. Uh, in terms of learnings, I think, yeah, I think school was good. I would say there were a lot of good teachers, and I think the teaching standards were very high. So I think that was very good. Also learned a lot from terms of influence. I would say learned a lot from my father. I think he was a very good influence. He was a very hardworking person who valued and I would say personified honesty and integrity a lot. So I think learned those values. He was also very disciplined in his life. So I think that is also another thing that I think I have learned, being disciplined and organized. He would always keep files of things. So I think I learned a lot of things. Was an early riser, early to bed. So I think bunch of those things that have I've learned from him, and I think that have kept me in good stead. And I think the other lesson I would say from my parents, my father in particular, that I learned very well is that not to do anything in excess. So I think and kind of keep a value of time, value your own time, and be judicious about how to spend it. So I think those are some of the things that I think I learned early in the days. Having said that, it was a lot of fun as well. So I used to play a lot of things. I used to play cricket. I used to play football. I used to do kite flying. So it was not like all serious
Wow.
stuff. So I think I had a pretty good normal childhood, which was a lot of fun in those days.
Wow. So you played a lot of sport and you were also into studies. So you had a great balance back in the day also, if I'm not wrong.
I would say so. Having said that, it was not like I was very good at some of the things, but I used to play quite a bit. I think cricket definitely wasn't very good at football, but yeah, kite flying I was good at. Yeah, so I think those were things.
Okay. Well, great. And talking about your college days, you were at IIT Delhi, a very reputed institute to be a part of. So tell us about your experiences at this, very prestigious institute and how it impacted your life. Also, any fun incidents, any fun moments at, while at IIT Delhi.
I think IIT Delhi was definitely, first of all, it was a blessing to be there. It was a great privilege to be there. It was definitely a very lot of hard work to be there. Once to be there, and even after reaching there, I think there's a lot of hard work that goes in. But it was also a lot of fun, right? I mean, I think you realize that you are in company of some of the nation's extremely smart peers and people there. And frankly, it is great to see our whole batch doing very well. People are very accomplished in their own areas. So I think it's very good to see that. In terms of memories, I think IITs, there are a lot of fun memories. So I grew up in a hostel called Jwalamukhi. IITs have a lot of hostel culture. So Jwala is short for Jwalamukhi. I think it's a famous hostel nowadays due to some of the more accomplished alumni as well. But there are a lot of fun there. I think what we really learn at the hostel is like you develop some of those friendships, which is true for any hostel life. But I think a lot of those friendships are there for the life. I think I've been also very lucky that a lot of our people who grew up in the same wing in the same hostel, we are in Bangalore. So we regularly keep in touch, catch up once in a while over festivals or some other get-together. So that is great. So yeah, that is on the fun side, I would say. A lot of fun activities. So I think it's tough to recall one thing, but yeah, I mean, I think a lot of fun in various ways, right? Um, IITs, I think in general, otherwise is a tough grind, I would say. But it also prepares you for very well for the real world. I think it gives one immense confidence, right, to basically go ahead and be confident about whatever you want to do to stretch your limits and push your limits. It also, I mean, I think it gave me, and I think it gives a lot of people a very tough attitude and say, okay, we will, in Hindi we say, kar lenge, dekh lenge types.
Mhm.
So it gives you a lot of, I mean, I think good confidence, which is great. Also, I think privileged to study under some of the brightest minds there. Our professors are very, I would say, dedicated and impart great knowledge, experts in their fields. Very grateful to have studied under some of the HODs of our and deans of our college. Professor Balakrishna, Professor S. N. Maheshwari, Professor Anshul Kumar, Sanjeev Kapoor, and many others, right? So I think in CS department, great professors. So I think a lot of good learnings from those days.
Wow. Well, that's great. And no wonder your colleagues call you positive because that's where you picked up your positive attitude, I believe, in your early growing up years and also at IIT. Like you said, the whole curling attitude, that is indeed a great, great learning. So thank you so much for sharing that. Well, that was a great, rewind back into your college and school days. Let's dive into your professional life now. What are the things that you have learned in your overall journey of your professional life? Do you have any great learnings that you've had or any mentors that you've had throughout your professional journey? So please tell us about that.
Yeah, I think definitely learned a lot from a lot of people. I think school and college teaches you only so much. I think in the real world you'll learn a lot. So very grateful to have been right from early in the career. I worked in a few startups. The word startup was not really well known at that time, from 99 to 2002 and so on. I remember there were people who gave me a lot of like tremendous faith in me, gave me complex problems to work upon early in the days. So learned a lot from. I was directly used to work with a person called Radhakrishnan Shrikant. He was a CTO of one of the startups called InfoStrand that I worked in, and there was an architect, Mr. Ravi Baranwal. I think so. So learned a lot from them earlier the days. Later on, I went on to Oracle. I think there were a lot of people and a lot of smart people. I was a lot of alumni from IIT Kharagpur was there. They were part of my interview panel. I remain in touch with most of them. And then a lot of learnings, particularly because in Oracle, that's where I moved from being an individual contributor to first time in a project lead role and later on a managerial role. So learned a lot of first steps of learning and particularly for engineering leadership there. Oracle also, I would credit them for uh, having a very good L&D program. So I think there were a lot of soft skill trainings that were available at that time. You could just register and your manager has to approve and then you could attend them. So I took benefit of a lot of learning from them as well. Later on, I think again, still formative years, but when I moved on to Yahoo, I think there was, I mean, Yahoo was a collection of extremely smart people and very, very passionate about what we were doing. The scale of the problems, the complexity, the data, everything was very high. I would call out two people definitely who were both mentors and I've learned a lot from. One is Jendran Venugopal, who currently heads as a CTO and product head of Flipkart. He was my manager and boss at Yahoo for nearly 4 years. And also one of our architects, Venkatavardhan Raghunathan, he was an architect for during my stint. So I mean, I think I learned a lot from them. Venkat is today at Google. So I think extremely smart people who helped me early formative year for some of my leadership experience as well. Later in the years, I think I also learned a lot from when I was at Goodera. It was funded by Nexus. Nareen Gupta sir, who was one of our on our board. It's really he was a great influence. He learned a lot from him. Even when I moved on from Goodera, he always made up time and was always available. He was also an early riser. Also went to IIT Delhi. Also grew up in a small town in Haryana. So I think we had a very good connect. Extremely smart, humble, disciplined. So learned a lot from them. Very sharp, very deep focus. And just to call out that I think only a few days ago there was a sad news of his untimely demise. So rest in peace, Naren sir.
Well,
So
sorry there for your loss, sir. Uh, can't be explained, loss of a, mentor or friend has a very big impact. So please accept our condolences for that. Sir, so many people have influenced you in your life, and you had some great learnings. But what is also interesting is that, sir, when I was reading about you, there came up a lot of colleagues of yours who had this to say, that you've always encouraged them, you've shown great amount of faith in them, and that just goes on to show that we treat others the way we are treated ourselves. A little philosophical there, but you mentioned that some of your mentors at very early on in your career had great faith in you and they gave you challenges, but they also, had a lot of faith in you, and which you did in turn also. So that just goes on to show how there's a chain of, attitude there. So thank you so much for sharing that. And once again, sir, in your career journey, you may have had some highs, some lows. How do you handle those times? When there is success achieved, what is your attitude? And also share with us, what do you do when you're not very upbeat, or when there is a setback or a failure?
I think excellent question. And I think this is where I'll answer first of all what I do with it, because that's where I think my father has always helped me. And I think the learnings from him was always that never get to either too excited when things are going well or too optimistic, and neither get too pessimistic when things are not going well. Because this is also, I would say again, since you said philosophically, it's absolutely correct that I think both good times and bad times, they don't last. So I think having that perspective, having that context is very important. And I think that's what I think I feel balance in life in general is very important. So that realization, I think, helps me a lot. In terms of specifics, I think there have been lows, but I think even lows have very good learning. So one of the first lows was, I think, I'm getting laid off and seeing your startups this is between that 99 to 2002 phase, shut down and getting out of job. I think in hindsight, of course, it did not feel great at that time, but in hindsight, I think they were great learnings, because very early in the cycle, you saw that, okay, no matter where you coming from, you might be IIT Delhi Computer Science or whatever, but you will get laid off if things are not going well. Understanding of economics, microeconomics, and I mean the macroeconomics, I would say, and the cycles of business cycles. I think they all impact everyone, right? So I think that, in fact, like I think 2007-8, the Lehman crisis again unfolded, right? And I think that is another thing, right? It was not really early in the career, but those were the lows. And I think they also taught me and a lot of us at that time that, okay, how to handle those things. So I think those were the some of the lows. Highs, I think there have been a lot of highs. I think I have been frankly very lucky and extremely grateful to whatever life has given me in terms of support from friends, family, friends from IIT, colleagues. I've been able to forge some very good relationships at work and so on. And I think those are the things that give me a high. So I think a lot of highs, very few lows. I think one more thing that I can think of, which is a combination of high and low, is my own entrepreneurship journey. When I started Funds Tiger back in 2015, 16, I think that was a high as well, but it did not pan out as well as I expected. And so that way it was a low. But having said that, that was also a great learning experience. I think, frankly, it was in a very similar space to what I'm doing at Credavenue, although at a much larger scale and much well executed. So I think that is also another thing. And so, yeah, I think my philosophy would be that highs or lows, they will all keep coming. I think one needs to stay focused and give your best in whatever the situation is. And I think that helps me personally, professionally, in all ways, right? So that's definitely a thought process rather than just a mantra or something, but that works for me.
Absolutely. Well, great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And sir, could you please tell us what, according to you, are the traits of a good leader? So you yourself are one, and for you, what has worked for you, and what do you think should be the traits of a good leader?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would not like to be too prescriptive. I think people different have different ways and different leadership styles, and also I think I'm also still learning. I think so. So I think there is always a constant learning. You are never there. Having said that, there are few things that I think are very important if you are in leadership role. The first would be, I think, just having the humility, right? Humility to know that, okay, you don't know something, humility to admit mistakes and learn from the same, right? I think that is extremely important for a leader, right? You are not there just to always be right? I mean, you try to be, but it's totally okay to say, okay, I'm not best at it, right? Then I would say also say things that work for me very well, and I think for a lot of leaders is being open and transparent, right? So I think that is very important. Also be always be curious and eager to learn, right? Because otherwise you won't learn and evolve, right? So as a person, as a leader, both ways, right? I think it's also important for leaders. I mean, this is maybe my bias, but I think having the right energy and enthusiasm is very important, right? Because your team picks it up from you, right? So I am usually very high into and very high energy and bring it every day, right? So I think that helps me and my team, in my opinion. At least I would like to think so. Um, then I would say you need to be also be very ready to work hard and persevere, right? I mean, I think all leaders do that. Everybody tries to do that, but perseverance is very important. Not giving up, I think that is very critical. And your ability to get things done, focus on when things are not getting in your, I mean, not going in the way that you want them to be, but still persevering and trying to focus on what can be done rather than being worried about what is not working out and so on. So that is important. And finally, I think having a long-term view, think long-term, not only in the short-term cycles, because I think that doesn't help much. And think big, right? I think like think long-term, think big, and then I think that should help most of the leaders and most people to go and go beyond and push to the limits and achieve the excellence and the success that they are looking for.
Hmm, absolutely. Well, since you spoke about being curious and constantly learning and improving yourself, so how have you invested in yourself to keep improving your skills? I'm sure that you have days that you feel like, there's still so much to learn and so much to do. So, at your work or even otherwise personally, how do you make sure that you keep, improving upon your skills?
I think in tech sector, first of all, you have to always keep learning a lot of new things within the work because there are new technologies that keep coming up, new paradigms, new architectures. Today we have microservices. Like 10 years ago, there was nothing like that. Cloud services were not there. So I think that way you have to always be on like lookout. You always be learning. I think investing in myself. I think yeah. I mean, I think I did that course at IMB, which was sponsored by Yahoo, so executive course. So that was there. I also did another certification course at Informatica to learn management and leadership skills and so on. So that is there. So those are the other things that I think which pretty much everybody does. There are other things that I do, which is like I mean in general, as I said, I'm very curious. I read a lot. I read a lot in terms of various variety, right? So it's not only my work related stuff, but whether it's literature, like one of my favorite authors is Joe Paleri, then John Steinbeck, who's a Nobel laureate, Chekhov, Amitabh Ghosh, so both Indian authors, fiction, so a lot of things. Like to read science books, history, psychology, and frankly, in this COVID times, I got a habit of like taking a bit more of walks, and that's where Audible helped me a lot. So I've been listening to a lot to an Audible. I've like finished a lot of books actually. So that has been good. Podcasts, I think that is another way to I think learn and just keep reading a lot of blogs, both tech blogs and otherwise. I think so that definitely helps me. The other is I would say, yeah, I mean, I think you have a good friends and mentors when you have some ideas and you want to think about it. So I think having a good circle where you can bounce off your ideas, that definitely helps. I also keep asking my son or some of the young people because I think they are always ahead of the curve. What are they up to? They are the adopters, early adopters of various things. I think so. Keep asking them, being curious, then trying to ask that, okay, what are they doing? What games are they playing? What is more interesting about that? Or what new apps are they using? So I think that way there is a lot of good learning, good feedback. So I think that also helps. Yeah, so I think so. Those are the few things that I do. I would say.
Well, great. And do you have any role models? You do your learning from books, but otherwise, any leaders that you particularly look up to, any role models that you look up to?
I think there are quite a few. I think people, I'm not sure whether they're role models, but I've learned a lot from a lot of people. So, for example, one of my favorites is Roger Federer in tennis world. So I think, like, of course, he's beyond excellence, I would say, but like humility and his search for excellence, and even at an age where a lot of people are retired, he's playing, winning, the drive, the passion. I think that's just amazing. So I think I try to do that from Jendran, who I referred earlier, was my manager at Yahoo. I think he's definitely been a role model and a mentor. I think again, humility, very deep focus, ability to dive deep into new topics, figure them out. I think extremely like I think focused person. So I think there's a lot of learning that I had from him. Um, uh, Learned from folks like Venkat with like how not to get stressed and see broader perspective. So I think initially in my early days, it's not like I was always like this, but then yeah, those are some of the learnings that I've gone. In terms of tech leaders, if there is one person that I have to choose, then I think definitely Jeff Bezos has been the most inspirational in my opinion. Also, not only the success story, but in the way Amazon operates, some of the leadership principles that they have, like things like customer obsession, agree, disagree, and commit, ownership and accountability, thinking big, have a spine, stand up for what you believe in. So I think some of those things are like I find amazing, and I think a lot to learn from. So I think yeah, within people who I don't know, I would say definitely. I mean, they don't know me, so I think from that bucket, definitely Jeff Bezos would be one of them.
Wow, great. Some great role models there. And sir, how do you maintain the work-life balance? And you spoke about a few hobbies. You spoke about reading, listening to audiobooks, sports. What are the other things that you like doing? And how do you maintain the work-life balance?
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I think that is definitely, I think, very important in today's time and age. That yeah, I mean, I think reading helps. I walk and I listen to audiobooks by usually taking walks. So I think that helps. I play a bit of badminton on the weekends with a small group of friends. On Saturdays and Sundays we play that. So I think so that is fun. also try to get a hand of TT playing with my son, as well as at office at times whenever time permits. Like to travel whenever possible. Of course, last 1.5 2 years haven't been very good because of COVID, but I think look forward to things opening up and things getting better, and then get back to travel. So like to go to both beaches, mountains, even historical places. I think Mahabalipuram, Hampi have been some of my favorite places. So I think go out there, relax, have some downtime, accompanied by some book or good food and friends. So I think that is always good way to relax. Those are some of the things that I do.
Well, great. And we'll move on to our last segment, which is the rapid fire round, just a little bit of fun activity, and we'll try to make this quick. So, just to get to know you a little better, uh, a quick rapid fire question where we'll ask you some questions and you can give us small answers or you can choose one of the options. So, are you ready for it?
Sure. Yep.
All right. So, here it goes. Planning your life or going with the flow?
Going with the flow.
Okay. Work from home or work from office?
Work from office.
Okay. This one may be tricky for you. Cricket or football?
Cricket.
Okay. Badminton or TT?
Badminton.
Historical museum or science museum?
Science museum.
Okay. Oh, all right. Paperback books, Kindle or audiobooks?
Both paperback and audiobooks.
Okay. Bangalore or Bengaluru?
Bangalore.
Okay. Fill in the blank. Life is incomplete without.
Friends and family.
Okay, lovely. Cutting chai or coffee?
Chai.
Chai. All right. And any one quote or any line or any song that you think resonates with you or has a deep connection with you?
Song, not sure. I mean, I think there are too many songs that I like. I think line, I would say, and I would say maybe, I think one of the things that I would say is that you don't have regrets. So one small line would be no regrets, right? So it's almost like a t-shirt slogan, but don't have regrets. So I don't have any regrets. So that's how I would say, no regrets.
Wow. Amazing, amazing. That was great indeed. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And we have learned so much in this interview, Vikram. This was really, really nice. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Vikram Verma, technology leader at Credavenue, sharing his life story with us. And what a great story indeed. So I had a great time speaking to you. And of course, I learned so much. Vikram, we hope that you enjoyed this interview.
Thanks a lot, Deepti. The pleasure is all mine. Thanks.